In this video, we're going to be chatting about a process that's used in the aluminum fabricating trades called back gouging. Now, back gouging is simply the process that's used when you're taking two sheets of aluminum and butting them together and welding them. You run a weld down one side of the butted joint, and then you flip the material over and you've got just a tiny little gap. Now, if you go straight to welding on that gap, there's a big chance that you're going to end up with a void in the middle of that weld, which is not desirable, particularly in cases when you're talking about something structural or something that's going to be tested, perhaps in the marine industry, where they might have a case to be x-raying welds to make sure there aren't any voids. So what back gouging is the process of relieving out a groove on that back side to allow the weld rod to get right into there to get full penetration to the weld from the other side, leaving no void, so you get that full, complete, closed joint. Now, there are a number of different methods that people use. You can Google back gouging aluminum online. You'll see all sorts of different types of ways that, they use cutting wheels, carbide burrs, end mills, grinding wheels. There's a number of ways. You can pre-cut the plates. You can bevel them on a saw or with a router before bringing them together to make that groove. But over the years, we've run into a situation where we were asked to develop a specific back gouging blade. And that's where the Skookum aluminum Miller back gouging blade comes to play. Now, this blade was developed a number of years ago when aluminum boat building was particularly prevalent here in British Columbia, where I'm located right now. So we worked with a couple of different fabricators and designed together a very specific blade that seemed to fit the needs of just about every user. So that's where this back gouging blade comes from. So if we just pull down this page, you'll see just some of the specifications. That the purpose of this blade is to leave that clean U-shaped channel. The blade can be used for milling, cleaning up, or even grooving aluminum welds or cutting out welding tacks. It's another extra purpose you can use for these blades. Like I already mentioned, used primarily in the marine industry and in a handheld grinder. These blades that we have are custom made by us to industry specifications, and they have a large carbide tip on them, so they can be sharpened many times. So the general specifications of this particular tool are their 4.5-inch diameter, typically used on a small angle grinder, 4.5 or 5-inch angle grinder. So we have that 7/8 arbor hole on them, 30 carbide teeth, and this is the key here, they're triple chip ground. So what triple chip grind is in the saw blade industry is like that barn roof where you've got a flat top and then you've got the sides beveled off. That's called a triple chip. And that's what leaves that U-shaped groove when you're using the milling blade. The thickness is about 3/16 of an inch, 3.9 millimeters, or 156 thousandths of an inch. And the body of the blade, the steel part, is 136 thousandths of an inch. Now, this blade has been called a number of different things over the years. We call it the Skookum because that's what we call ours. But you'll find that people have often referred to it as a meat axe, a meat eater, a lethal. None of these names sound really fun, and there's reasons for that if they're not used properly. A back groover, aluminum groover, a back gouger, or an aluminum gouger. Now, one point here is this blade does look on first glance. Here's one right here. Skookum Miller blade, 4.5-inch, triple chip grind. On first glance, you think about that in an angle grinder, and it seems like that might be quite a dangerous tool. But the interesting thing is, when you use this blade properly, it's extremely controllable and very safe. Obviously you want to keep your guard on, keep your side handle on so your hands are away from the tool, but you're shaving out little shaves of aluminum, very controllable. You can control how deep you go, you control how fast you move along there. So using a Miller blade is one of the most effective and efficient ways to create that back gouge that's needed to get that full penetration weld. So if we move to the top of the page up here on online supply, you'll see this is where we offer our 4.5-inch diameter 30-tooth aluminum Miller back gouging blades. We do typically keep a good number of these in stock. A lot of the larger factories do buy them in bulks of 10 at a time. So we do offer a discount on them at 10 or more at once. So These are one of those things that if you're into welding aluminum and you're doing some aluminum plate, great tool to speed up your process and make it just way more efficient for your job. So if you have any questions about this or about any other tools we sell, please do reach out. We'd be glad to help.